उसूल नंबर 6, कुल जगत को अपना भाई समझे और सबके साथ ऐसा ही व्यवहार करे। कमाल शराफत इंसानी ये कि बंदा हमेशा बंदगी के दायरे में रहे। जो चीज़ अपनी असल से आई हुई है उसको ऐसा ही समझे, गोया एक मंबा से सब रवां है। जब ये हालत है तो उसकी शक्ल ऐसी हो जाती है जैसे बच्चा वतन मादर में परवरिश पाकर बरामद होता है। जितने भाई और बहनें एक ही माँ के पेट से पैदा होते हैं, सबका एक दूसरे से यही ताल्लुक़ और रिश्ता रहता है और सब इसमें बंधे हुए हैं। अब इस दायरे से जो अशिया मुख्तलिफ रूप में बरामद हुए हैं, उनका यही रिश्ता समझना चाहिए जो अपने भाइयों का है, जो एक माँ के पेट से बरामद हुए हैं। इसमें जो नुक्ता है किसी की समझ में नहीं आया, वो मरकज़ जिसके गर्द हरकत होने से सब कुछ बरामद हो जाता है और सब मिल मिलाकर काम करना शुरू कर देते हैं। सबकी निस्बत उसी असल से रहती है। गैरियत का ताल्लुक़ वाक़ई नहीं है, ये अपना पसारा है कि यार अगयार मालूम होते हैं। ये सब अपनी ही खुदगर्जी की हालत है। ये सब में पैवस्त होकर उन सबको गैर तसव्वुर करा देती है। इस चीज़ को तोड़ने की ज़रूरत है, इसलिए कि असल बिरादराना ताल्लुक़ महसूस होने लगे। ये भी एक पर्दा है जो बंदे में हायल रहता, जैसे कुंबा बढ़ने पर उसके अफराद दूर मालूम होने लगते हैं। इस तरह से ज़माना गुज़रने पर अपने भाई बंधु दूर महसूस होने लगे। वो हालत जो सब में पैवस्त थी ख्याल के दायरे से ऊजल मालूम होने लगी। महज उसका ठोसता का रूप निगाह के सामने रहा। इसी से हमने मोहब्बत शुरू कर दी उस चीज़ की तरफ से जो असल थी और सब में मौजूद थी। हमने अपनी निगाह हटा ली। इस चीज़ के असर से जो नमूना पैदा हुआ बस वही निगाह के सामने बाकी रह गया। इससे जो कुछ मोहब्बत हम कर सके करते रहें, मगर जहाँ पर मोहब्बत होगी उसके अंदर दुश्मनी का राज भी छुपा होगा। ख्यालात की धाराएं ऐसे जागुजे हुए कि मुख्तलिफ तरीक़ों में उन्होंने अपना असर जमाया। कहीं पर कुछ बात पैदा हो गई और कहीं पर कुछ और नक्शा जम गया। ये हर चीज़ मुख्तलिफ हो गई, इंतशार पैदा हो गया। अब इसने हमको एक दूसरे से अलहदा कर दिया। ये सब शक्लें एक तरी से जाल का नमूना अफरादी शक्ल में बन गए, जिससे उन धाराओं को जो एहसास की शक्ल में हर जंदास में नुमायां हो रही थी निगाह से ऊजल कर दिया। अब भाई को बाही समझने की मशक करना गोया उस जाल को जो फर्दन फर्दन बनाया गया तोड़ देना है और उस चीज़ को जो भाई बहन के ताल्लुक़ का एहसास दिला रहा है अपने करीब कर लेना है। इस अभ्यास से वो भातृभाव भासने लगेगा, जिसका नतीजा ये होगा कि हम उसके करीब तर दिखाई पड़ेंगे। इसकी मज़ौलत हमको इल्म हकीकी हासिल करने में मदद देगी और वही चीज़ जो है सामने रह जाएगी। जब ये बात बिल्कुल सामने रहेगी तो ज़रूर आपस में मेल जोल संगठन वगैरह की नौबत आ जाएगी। ज़्यादा बढ़ने पर इसी ताल्लुक़ में हमारे व्यवहार भी ऐसे ही सरजद होने लगे कि हम उसमें मेल मिलाप की हवा महसूस करेंगे और हमको एक दूसरे से तस्कीन और शांति मिलती रहेगी। कितना अच्छा हुआ अगर हमारे व्यवहार संभल जावें। एक चीज़ तो हमें यूं मिल गई, दूसरे चीज़ की फिक्र है, वो चीज़ भी मिलना इससे आसान हो जाती है। दुनिया दर हकीकत हक़बे का अक्स है। अगर हमने इस अक्स को संभाल लिया तो फिर अक्स डालने वाली शे पर भी उसका असर पड़ेगा और जब संभली हुई चीज़ का असर अपनी अक्स डालने वाली चीज पर पड़ेगा तो उसमें भी शुद्धता पैदा होने लगेगी और हमारा मामला और भी आसान नजर आने लगेगा। इससे हमको एक गुना उस चीज के हासिल करने में मदद मिलेगी। हमारे काम जब यहाँ के दुरुस्त हो गए तो उसका असर वहाँ भी पड़ेगा। अक्स डालने वाली चीज से मेरा मतलब ब्रह्मांड या आलम कुब्रा से है, जहाँ पर हर चीज पहले आती है, इसके बाद उसका ज़हूर यहाँ इस दुनिया में होता है। आलम कुब्रा में चीज़ें उससे ऊपर के हिस्से से आती हैं और ये तरतीब बराबर ऊपर तक चली गई है। लिहाजा अगर हम आखिरी तय को दुरुस्त कर लेते हैं तो उसका असर अक्स डालने वाली चीज़ पर पड़ता है और वो चीज़ शुद्ध होने लगती है। अब जिसका असर उस डालने वाली चीज़ पर पड़ रहा है, उसके शुद्ध होने से जिस पर उसका असर गिर रहा है, उसको भी शुद्धता होने में हम इस तरह से इमदाद करते हैं और ये सिलसिला बराबर चला जाता है, हत्ता कि वो इब्तदाई तय भी इस तरीके में शुद्ध हो जाती है। कहिए हमारा मामला किस कदर सहल से बनता चला जाता है।
उसूल 6। कुल जगत को अपना भाई समझे और सबके साथ ऐसा ही व्यवहार करे। इंसानी सदाचार की परिपूर्णता ये है कि बंदा हमेशा बंदगी के दायरे में रहे। जो चीज अपनी असल से आई हुई है उसको ऐसा ही समझे, क्योंकि एक स्रोत से सब रवा है। जब ये हालत है तो उसकी शक्ल ऐसी हो जाती है जैसे बच्चा वतन मादर मदर स्वाम में परवरिश पाकर बरामद होता है। जितने भाई और बहनें एक ही माँ के पेट से पैदा होते हैं, सबका एक दूसरे से यही ताल्लुक और रिश्ता रहता है और सब इसमें बंधे हुए हैं। अब इस दायरे से जो चीजें विभिन्न रूप में बरामद हुए हैं, उनका यही रिश्ता समझना चाहिए जो अपने भाइयों का है, जो एक माँ के पेट से बरामद हुए हैं। इसमें जो नुक्ता है किसी की समझ में नहीं आया, वो केंद्र बिंदु जिसके इर्द गिर्द हरकत होने से सब कुछ बरामद हो जाता है और सब मिल मिलाकर काम करना शुरू कर देते हैं। सबकी निस्बत उसी असल से रहती है। गैरियत का ताल्लुक वाकई ही नहीं है, ये अपना पसारा सेल्फ क्रिएशन है कि यार गैर मालूम होते हैं। ये सब अपनी ही खुदगर्जी सेल्फिशनेस की हालत है। ये सब में पैवस्त सैचुरेटेड होकर उन सबको अजनबी करार देती है। इस चीज को तोड़ने की जरूरत है, इसलिए कि असल बिरादराना ताल्लुक ट्रू फ्रेटर्नल रिलेशन महसूस होने लगे। ये भी एक पर्दा है जो बंदे में पड़ा रहता है। जैसे कि परिवार बढ़ने पर उसके सदस्य दूर मालूम होने लगते हैं, इसी तरह से जमाना गुजरने पर अपने भाई बंधु दूर महसूस होने लगे। वो हालत जो सब में पैवस्त थी, ख्याल के दायरे से ओझल मालूम होने लगी। महज उसकी ठोसता का रूप निगाह के सामने रहा। उससे हमने मोहब्बत शुरू कर दी, उस चीज की तरफ से जो असल थी और सब में मौजूद थी। हमने अपनी निगाह हटा ली। इस चीज की असर से जो नमूना पैदा हुआ, बस वही निगाह के सामने बाकी रह गया। इससे जो कुछ मोहब्बत हम कर सके करते रहे, मगर जहां पर मोहब्बत होगी उसके अंदर दुश्मनी का राज भी छुपा होगा। ख्यालात की धाराएं ऐसी बस गई कि विभिन्न तरीकों में उन्होंने अपना असर जमाया। कहीं पर कुछ बात पैदा हो गई और कहीं पर कुछ और नक्शा जम गया। हर चीज अलग अलग प्रतीत होने लगी, विभिन्नता पैदा हो गई। अब इसने हमको इस एक दूसरे से अलहदा कर दिया। ये सब शक्लें एक तरह से जाल का नमूना व्यक्तिगत जाल की शक्ल में बन गए, जिससे उन धाराओं को जो एहसास की शक्ल में सभी में प्रकट हो रही थी, निगाह से ओझल कर दिया। अब भाई को भाई समझने का अभ्यास करना मतलब उस जाल को जो अलग अलग बनाया गया तोड़ देना है, और उस चीज को जो भाई बहन भ्रातृत्व का एहसास दिला रहा है अपने करीब कर लेना है। इस अभ्यास से वो भ्रातृभाव भासने लगेगा, जिसका नतीजा ये होगा कि हम उसके करीब तर दिखाई पड़ेंगे। इसका अभ्यास हमको असल ज्ञान हासिल करने में मदद देगा और वही चीज जो है सामने रह जाएगी। जब ये बात बिल्कुल सामने रहेगी तो जरूर आपस में मेल जोल संगठन वगैरह की नौबत आ जाएगी। ज्यादा बढ़ने पर इसी ताल्लुक में हमारे व्यवहार भी ऐसे ही बदलने लगेंगे कि हम उसमें मेल मिलाप की हवा महसूस करेंगे और हमको एक दूसरे से संतोष और शांति मिलती रहेगी। कितना अच्छा हो अगर हमारे व्यवहार संभल जाए। एक चीज तो हमें यूं मिल गई, दूसरी चीज की फिक्र है। वो चीज भी मिलना इससे आसान हो जाती है। ये दुनिया दर हकीकत ऊपरी दुनिया का अक्स है। अगर हमने इस अक्स को संभाल लिया तो फिर अक्स डालने वाले क्षेत्र पर भी उसका असर पड़ेगा, और जब संभली हुई चीज का असर अपनी अक्स डालने वाली चीज पर पड़ेगा तो उसमें भी शुद्धता पैदा होने लगेगी और हमारा मामला और भी आसान नजर आने लगेगा। इससे हमको एक गुना उस चीज को हासिल करने में मदद मिलेगी। हमारे काम जब यहाँ के दुरुस्त हो गए तो इसका असर वहां भी पड़ेगा। अक्ष डालने वाली चीज से मेरा मतलब ब्रह्मांड या आलम कुबरा से है, जहां पर हर चीज पहले आती है। इसके बाद इसका ज़हूर यहाँ इस दुनिया में होता है। आलम कुबरा में चीजें उसके ऊपर के हिस्से से आती है और ये क्रम बराबर ऊपर तक चलता जाता है। लिहाजा अगर हम आखिरी तह को दुरुस्त कर लेते हैं तो उसका असर अक्ष डालने वाली चीज पर पड़ता है और वो चीज शुद्ध होने लगती है। अब जिसका असर उस डालने वाली चीज पर पड़ रहा है, उसके शुद्ध होने से जिस पर उसका असर गिर रहा है उसको भी शुद्धता होने में हम इस तरह से मदद करना शुरू करते हैं और ये सिलसिला बराबर चला जाता है, यहाँ तक कि वो प्रारंभिक उच्चतम तह भी उस तरीके में शुद्ध हो जाती है। कहिए हमारा मामला किस कदर आसानी से बनता चला जाता है।
Commandment 6. Know all people as thy brethren and treat them as such. The perfection of human nobility lies in the devotee being always within the sphere of devotion. All things descending from the origin should be treated as coming from the same source. Just as children born of the same mother are related to each other in one and the same way, so also are all bound together by the same common tie of brotherliness and are related to each other in the same way. The underlying sense had never been fully grasped. Everything emerged by the effect of motion around the center, and all work together unitedly. All are connected with the same reality. There is no real separation. It was all really the effect of our own thoughts and actions that converted brothers and friends into strangers. It was due to our own feeling of selfishness that made them appear like aliens. This engendered separative feeling must now therefore be removed so that brotherly relations may be revived. This is one of the wheels which enshrouds the devotee. Just as a feeling of remoteness sets in by itself among the members of the family when the number increases, in the same way, our brothers and relatives begin to appear more and more remote by the lapse of time and distance, and the state, which is common to all, vanishes from the sphere of thought. Only its solid form remains to view, which we begin to love. We have diverted our thought from what was real and present in all of us. What remained in our view was that which manifested itself. We began to love it as far as we can. But love includes within it a latent feeling of enmity. So the current of thought began to settle down and affect it adversely. Everything began to appear differently and effected separation from one another. All these contributed to the formation of our individual network, on account of which we lost consciousness of the currents that flow into every being, appearing in a man in the form of feelings. The development of the feeling of universal brotherhood means the breaking up of the individual network that separated one from the other and the closer adherence to the tie of fraternity. This will assist in attaining real knowledge. It will naturally lead to mutual association and greater attachment, and our dealing with one another will be molded accordingly, ensuring greater peace and contentment to everyone. How nice would it be to have it thus? Having accomplished this, we proceed on further, which also becomes easier to realize. This world is in fact a reflection of the other world. When this one is molded properly, its effect extends onto the other world, whose reflection it is, and that too will begin to get purified. This will greatly smoothen our task and help us further in the attachment of the ideal. Our success here will lead to our success there. By the world that casts the reflection, I mean the Brahmand or the astral world, where everything happens in an astral form prior to its coming to this world in material shape. In Brahmand, it comes down similarly from the next higher region, and therefrom still higher, and so on. Thus, by proper modification of this last layer, the effect is carried to each of the higher layers successively up to the very highest one, which begins to get purified in the easiest and the most natural.
Before we proceed to Sir's and Dr. KCV's commentary, I just want anybody to explain or describe their understanding about this sentence. But love includes within it a latent feeling of enmity. So the current of thought began to settle down and affect it adversely. Everything began to appear differently and affected separation from one another. Can anybody describe their understanding about this sentence? Because I had this problem. I spoke to Sir and Sir gave me, this was about 10, 15 years ago. Now it's very clear to me. But at that time I had this deficiency in understanding. So I asked him, so he brilliantly explained the whole thing.
Sir, my initial understanding of it was, I think the principle of inversion.
Okay.
That love and enmity, as Master has put it, are right next to each other.
Okay.
And I think, love, when it inverts probably a feeling of enmity is there. And also we have seen in Telugu also they say బాగా దగ్గర వాళ్ళతోనే మనకి కోపాలు అండ్ తాపాలు ఉంటాయి అని. అంటే లైక్ ఎనీబడి దట్ ఈస్ క్లోజ్, యూ లవ్ సంబడి, you seem to also generate that hate and anger, right? Not with somebody far off, somebody that is not related to us. That is what I could think of.
Okay, you're okay. Anybody else wants to?
So just what I understand is before that he starts in terms of how from our universal brotherhood we came to the selfishness.
Correct.
We started creating our network.
Yeah.
And then the only thing that remained in view, because it says कि अब जो कुछ निगाह के सामने बाकी रह गया उससे हम जो मोहब्बत कर सके करते रहे. यानी कि now we are only interacting with our close brothers, sisters or relatives or the network that we move in. So whatever is not in our view, let's say the people from the other countries, we are not concerned with it, and similarly it will have the feeling of enmity because we don't care about it. That's what I feel.
Yeah, you're correct, but you're correct, but the underlying psychological principle has to be understood. This is concerned with what is called raga dvesha. That means suppose we like somebody, that means we are presently we are liking the solid form. When he uses the word solid form, it means the physical body on all the koshas, the intellectual and then the manomaya kosha, basically manomaya kosha, pranamaya kosha and vijnanamaya kosha. That means the person's thoughts, the person's philosophy, the person's likes and dislikes, all those things are actually grosser form only, because the underlying divinity is the reality which is present in me and everybody else, and that is lost sight of. And when that is lost sight of, only thing which is visible to our consciousness is the physical and psychic form. And when we love that, and whenever there is a love, automatically whichever person is not having those qualities, we automatically have a dislike for them. Like suppose now, let us take a concrete example. We had so many brothers who left our ISRC. Like for example, you can take example of Nagesh. Nagesh left. And then, the moment he left, now we dislike him. Not I mean in all of you, but general. There are some people, some disciples of Babuji who are practicing the sixth commandment. They dislike him. That means there is a hatred towards him just because he is not fitting into your perception. So whenever suppose we have liked him because of the essence of the master present in him, this question won't have arisen at all. Suppose we like him because of the essence of divinity existing in him, we are loving him because we are interconnected, we are of the same thing, then the problem would not have arisen at all. But since that is out of our view, we only look at his physical body and his thoughts about loyalty to the organization, loyalty to Babuji or Ramchandra, whatever Ramchandra consciousness is not there. So he becomes an enemy. So he becomes a friend as long as his thoughts fit into our model of what is called morality. The moment that model is changed, we see it. So that loving the external form or the solid form is a mistake. But if we see the underlying reality, then the network is broken, then real fraternity arises. So this, all of us can watch ourselves and see whether how far we are having this true fraternity actually. So whenever we like anything, automatically, suppose you like a Congress party, so whoever is against the Congress party, you dislike. Automatically, hatred will be there. Suppose you like one DMK party, other automatically dislike. So you like one politician, the other politician who is against him, you'll dislike him automatically. Because you're seeing it the solid form. You like the solid person, and his political philosophy fits into your philosophy, so you like him. So anybody other than that, you dislike him. So automatically in that situation, universal fraternity, universal love will not happen. It is impossible. It can happen if you go in deep into the nature of the person itself. That means the God who is causing the heart to beat and is causing his mind to think. His thinking is happening because of God. His moving and working is happening because of God. So if your mind is aware of the presence of God in that person, then then that love is universal love. Otherwise, the loves which you are talking is mixed. So in the world, whenever we love anybody, will automatically hatred will be there. So at some point, it will come to the surface. You cannot escape from hatred, actually. So I see so many people feeling unhappy that people have left ISRC and all that. People have been disciples of Babuji. They don't stop. They don't do meditation. All that. I find it very funny why you should be upset about those things, because it doesn't fit into the yogic path at all. Anyway, we'll go to the commentary of Sir.
Sir, so just trying to, there is one is the feeling of enmity, and other one is there will be a point of difference, right? Or you don't agree on the certain things with respect to, because someone left because of his view or her view of the way he's looking at the thing. So the feeling of enmity should not be there, but there should not be certain.
Whenever you are having love, I mean, when you are loving the person without the awareness of the presence of God, automatically feeling of hatred will be there. Suppose you are loving him as a God, the feeling will not come at all. I mean, that is the nature of divine love. Is just like a candle or a sun. It gives light to a criminal or to a saint or a poor fellow. It gives light equally. It doesn't distinguish whether he's a good person or a bad person. Universal love means you love irrespective, without expect. It's not conditional. That's why I like him. He respects my guru. That's why I like him. That is conditional. Now he has lost respect for my guru. Now I will not like him. So that is all conditional, which is a transactional. It is not at all concerned with spiritual love at all. Spiritually, and we love God because God is a very significant being, worth loving for his own sake, and it's an unconditional love. It is a unique quality of God, is that he's extremely valuable when compared with any other thing in the world. That is why we love him, and his love towards us is also unconditional. That is what Sir has told, that one of the way God is described is called nirhetuka kripa. That means God loves you without any reason. Mm-hmm. So when your mind is dwelling on the divine light without luminosity, you'll also one of the basic aims of spiritual training is to imbibe as many godly attributes as possible. So this godly attribute of love without unconditional love also will come into you. Then only you move. Then only you'll be able to follow the sixth commandment. So if you're meditating correctly, you will get the godly attribute of loving people unconditionally. A Muslim hai, Hindu hai, Chinese hai, Pakistani hai, all those things. It is just like sun. The sun doesn't distinguish whether he's a Christian or a Muslim or a murderer or a rapist or a fraudster and all that. It just gives light. That is the quality of divinity. So that is the idea which we should catch.
Okay. Thank you.
There is one more observation, sir.
So this aspect of what you're telling, this is a common differences of viewpoint will be there, because even now our group is of 23 people already. Each 23 persons, their minds are in a different stage of evolution towards divinity. Each person's understanding and his flavor of reaction to a situation will be different. So differences are there, but underlying unity is there. Suppose all 23 of us are given a cup of tea. All 23 people will have a different judgment about the quality of the tea, good or bad or indifferent. There are several varieties of judgments are possible. Like that, difference of opinion is there. But in spirituality, if you expect the other person should follow, would agree to my viewpoint unconditionally, that is a slavery. You're asking the other person to become your slave. That is not at all acceptable. Everybody is equal. Only God is the thing. If I feel that no, you should follow my guru, or just like this Islamic ISIS people say, unless you follow our prophet, you will be killed. That is slavery. That is not freedom. So each person should have the independence to follow, to value his judgment, to value his own thinking, and his own viewpoint is correct from his perspective. You may differ with him, but you cannot wish that he should think exactly like you. And if you wish that he should think exactly like you, you are asking me to become your slave. What is spirituality about it?
Correct. Yeah.
This is that is not fraternity at all.
So if we link it with the fifth commandment, right, where
now can anybody tell me why people lie? Why do people lie?
So it's something to do with their frequency matching. Maybe what you like, maybe they're also liking, and something on his thoughts are matching.
No. When you are lying, there is a motivation. You are lying. There is a motive behind your lie. And why do people lie? That is what that's a question I want to. Because
lack of courage, sir.
Sir has answered that issue in his commentary also. Why do people lie? Suppose
is it lack of courage, sir? Lack of courage to say the truth and face the consequences sometimes leads to lying.
Any other ideas? Why?
Sometimes it may be for the love of the other. They may fear that the person would feel bad. And that is where then, like you see normally, right? It's very superficial.
That is not so accurate. I mean, any other ideas? Why people lie to other person?
Maybe to satisfy their own egos.
No.
Security.
No. Anything
So,
else?
if I can,
What is the deeper motive?
based on the individual's desires and aspiration, he has set of likes and dislikes, and whoever is in line with that, he may like that person or he may not like.
No, what has that got to do with the fifth commandment or speaking truth? Be truthful. हर समय सच बोलना चाहिए. What has got that to do with this thing? And it has got a link to the sixth commandment also. Why do people lie? The reason is this. We lie. We want to exploit the other person. Suppose I'm a doctor. I will not tell him the truth because then this is a common problem happening in hospitals in Hyderabad. They paint a picture that this person, if I give anesthesia, I will die and all that. So they charge money. So you want to exploit the other person. That is one reason. The other thing is you're scared that the other person will use the words which are spoken in truth. He may exploit you also. So there's a fear that the other person is different from you. once this basic distinction is there, that the other person is not part of, you tell a lie. You want to exploit him because he's separate from you. And the other thing is you are afraid that he will exploit you. But when universal love comes, automatically you'll start speaking to, you will not consider the other person as separate from you at all. So when the sixth commandment becomes an established fact, then you don't consider the other person as separate from you. So you automatically, it is just like telling yourself, you're not afraid of yourself. So you speak the truth. You live with integrity and authentically you live. In integrity, you will be talking to him. You're not scared because he's part of you. Since majority of the people are in individual consciousness, they feel the other person is separate from them. The separation is there because of what is called avidya, because of being out of the homeland. Then you feel the other person is separate, scared of him. And why when a person moves into universal consciousness, it will be difficult because he treats the other person as an extension of his own self.
Sir, the exploitation, is it related to the desire of being superior to others?
It is a duality. It is duality. You feel the other person is separate from you. That is the reason why we tell a lie. And that is the reason why we want to exploit him. If you don't want to exploit him, you may tell the truth. That is a kind of a morality. But a spiritual evolution is where you don't feel separation at all. You feel that he's part of you. Then that's a different plane of speaking truth. Whereas following truth because your parents have told, because it is socially ethical, that is a different way, which is generally society follows that moral maxim. It is not arising out of a spiritual enlightenment or understanding. It is at a more mundane level. There are two aspects of it. So basically, it is due to the feeling that we separate. That we have a personality project what we are not true. That's why when in the fifth commandment he says, when you're surrendered, when you're given up, all your masks are taken off. What you are then, that is your real state. That is truth means, that's what he says. No, just a minute. Truthfulness really implies the sense of presenting one's own self in its true colors. True colors means where ego is not there. And when ego is not there, you don't feel the other person is separate from you. So at that time, you'll be only truthful. When you feel the other person is separate from you, that is not your truthful condition. Then only you'll tell a lie. I hope I don't know whether I'm clear or not.
Yes, sir. I think it's clear.
Does it make any sense what I'm talking?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir. We've noticed that many times.
Unless you understand this, Dauluri meeku arthamavutundani cheppina point.
Avunu sir, avunu. I was about to say, sir, manamu, even if, as you say, that even if we don't exploit mana side nunchi, but we are very worried that the other person will exploit us. And there many times I subdued the matter, or I avoided answering, or kind of, silencing, with the worry that the other person will exploit me, because they think that I am naive or innocent or like that, and then I avoided kind of telling what it is like, rather than.
That is one of the side effects of being in a spiritual life. People, when they grow spiritually, they become childlike because they're so simple. Whatever you say, they believe. Even with Sir, also so many times he once became angry with Keshav Reddy. He says, "What is?" Keshav Reddy just asked him as a matter of fact, that Sir, Vijay Kumar is a good person. You must make him a trainer. Just because he said, he made him a trainer. like an innocent child. I mean, that's the thing. You know, you are vulnerable also. It's a different matter.
So
we'll go to the commentary.
If we link it with the, again, more with the fifth commandment, right? It says the true state is when you're away from any concept. So there is no concept in, right? So when all that goes away, then
no, actually, you're living a life of a be truth. Fifth commandment you are following. That means that is a state of universal consciousness only.
Okay.
Your line, your view will be not from an individual point of view. You will be thinking like the master himself, like Babuji himself, or like God himself. But we are trying to imitate that condition by being truthful, by practicing truth. We talk what we feel like, and we bring integrity into our relationship. When I'm talking, I should be honest when I'm talking, not to impress you or not to score points, gain some praise, or get some goodwill, or there shouldn't be any motive behind it. So if I want to be recognized as a knowledgeable person, as a big doctor who is much better than other doctors and all that, if with that motive, if I try to talk and all that, that is not an integral way of conducting your relationships. Actually, integrally, you present what you are. That's all.
Yeah.
And by presenting an integral, honest interaction with society, with yourself and with others, we are trying to imitate the true condition which is described in the fifth commandment. And then as a result of it, the devotion comes in. And then the mind keeps on. As the devotion comes in, the path becomes very easy. That's what Babuji says. The refuge and dirt on the path is removed, and then your movement on the path becomes very easy, because when the devotion starts developing in your mind, then the process, spiritual journey becomes easier. Actually.
Yeah. Yes.
There is one more observation, sir, here. Sir, in the commandment, if you look, there are two parts to a commandment. Know all people as thy brethren.
Yeah.
And then second part is treat them as such.
Yes.
So if we, the way the commentary is written, what Babuji Maharaj says, he talks about the concept of oneness, where he says towards the end, by breaking our individual network, we can ensure greater peace and contentment for everyone.
Yes.
And then he says, having accomplished this,
yes,
we proceed on further, which becomes easier to realize.
Yeah.
And then he talks about that how if we bring order at one plane, this order percolates to the higher planes also.
That is what, when Sir has written this very in Path of Grace, he says, whatever progress has to be done has to be achieved in the lower 5 centers only, the centers which are in the Pind Desh. Suppose you keep on purifying it, that will have an effect in the Brahmanda and Parabrahmanda consciousness. Automatically, they will get refined, because the purity of devotion here, the purity of Viveka here, automatically get reflected. So all the progress is done in the 5 centers of the Pind Desh. So automatically, there it becomes easy. So then when he talks about the 64 points also, he brings in these ideas that he says, I had a lot of difficulty taking people across those 64 points, because they were not putting in efforts to keep their lower centers pure, and because they were repeatedly falling back, there were defects in Viveka and Vairagya. That's why I had to repeatedly struggle for several times. He kept, it will be there in his commentary on Path of Grace. So whoever has worked hard, or whoever has maintained Viveka, and whoever had devotion properly, he found it easy to higher regions. So this is dealt with in.
So second part of the commandment is possible when that purity is there. That is what I was.
No, if you sincerely try to, which he says invariably all of us have to practice, think that in your spare time, and think that you are in the thing that God is pervading all animated. And when you're busy in the work, they dedicate that work to the master and say that this is the order of the master and doing it. So you're constantly, consciously or subconsciously trying to feel the presence of the master. So automatically this network will be broken, because it's a science actually. The network is there, and your awareness is there. Now your awareness is diverted towards the divine, and when it is diverted towards the divine, the network is already started breaking actually. The more you are remaining diverted, the more the network breaks. And when the network breaks after a certain extent, you will start feeling fraternal feelings. You'll be friendly and loving towards everybody. So that comes as a natural outcome of your practice. And once this thing comes, automatically the higher conditions also becomes easier to move up. So basic idea, you should try to remain absorbed in the feeling of the presence of the master as much as possible. That is the crux of whole spiritual sadhana. If there is no further observation, then we'll go to the commentary actually.
Fraternity.
Actually, the commandment, the commentary by Dr. KCV is beautiful actually. That gives you a lot of inspiration to practice the 9th commandment and all that. It makes you restless to share your understanding and happiness to others. Any person who's proceeding on the spiritual path cannot help sharing his happiness to others. But then once you read his commentary, there's a sense of urgency in that feeling actually. Okay, go ahead, please.
So we'll read Sir's commentary first, right?
Yes.
Fraternity, Commandment 6. The 6th commandment declares, know all people as thy brethren and treat them as such. There are 2 points here. Knowing every person as brother or sister and treating him or her as such. What is the cause of miseries in life and who causes these miseries? Our misunderstanding is that the other man has created misery for us. We do not accept it as a divine blessing. We do not accept that everything is coming to us as a gift. Our karma or action brings us happiness or misery. Both these are lessons given to us by God, the Samavarti. Instead, we think that some particular person has harmed us or that another person has done well to us. And because of this confusion, we start developing hatred, enmity, jealousy. We go on confusing the things, saying that my son has behaved like this, my brother has behaved like this, or my mother has behaved like this, or my father behaved like this, or a friend has let me down, and this man to whom I have done so much thinks it fit to do harm to me. This is the type of feeling that we get. This happens when we are attached to our individual creation. When we attach ourselves to divine creation and allow the divinity to express fully, these problems will not arise. The master would seem to say, all of you people have come from me. You are only my expressions. just as the children are the expressions of the parents. You are all my expression, and there cannot be anything wrong between you. There can be nothing but love between you, because we think that we are independent, because we don't remember our parentage, because we do not think about the great family background. Family background is we are children of God. We are not able to treat each other with an attitude of fraternity. The awareness that each one of us is connected to the origin and our relationship towards it is one of devotedness. Then we shall feel that we form a part of great fraternity in expression. The Master promises that knowing the commonality of our origin is our real destiny, and that is real goal of human life. Once we do that, then the superficial and surface manner of trying to treat others as brothers or sisters because of the commonality of membership of a club or commonality of membership in an association that most of us talk about ceases. The Master exhorts us to understand and be aware of our great parentage. Here we come to know that we are from Him and everyone is from Him as an expression of divine. Once we arrive at this knowledge and the awareness is experienced in the core of heart, then there is no question of having any other attitude except that of a brother or sister amongst us. Then we tend to treat all as such because it is only our own Father in expression here in us. It is only the same divinity who is in expression there in others. A form of divinity which may be different from the form of divinity that we have, perhaps. Perhaps a form that is entirely different from our form, a capacity that is entirely different from ours. But every one of these expressions is only His. Master explains that as the number of children in a family increases, the intimacy among them gets reduced and a certain amount of feeling of remoteness develops. Similarly, as the expressions of the divine increased, we have tended to feel distanced amongst us more. The feeling of separateness developed amongst the individual expressions. The awareness of individuality has brought along with it a sense of uniqueness that has led to the conflicting interests amongst us, leading to feelings of jealousy, envy, and enmity. The individual network of feelings and emotions thus generated have become binding on the self and took a really impregnable quality. The quality of our meditations as they mature, with the support of pranahati, enables us to move out of the particularized body consciousness along with its network of feelings and passions, and we start experiencing our true nature of oneness with the universe. This awareness enables us to treat all as our brethren. The practice of certain meditational methods suggested by the Master, particularly the meditations on point A and B, mentioned in his book Efficacy of Raja Yoga, enables us to live in this higher level of consciousness more easily as they help us to come out of the fast and firm hold of drives and instincts of animality that forms the main core of human life, as it is lived in the so-called modern times and developed nations. The practice of meditation in point A, located in the chest portion of human frame, with the idea that all the people in this world are one's own brothers and sisters, and they are all developing true love and devotion to the Master, is a unique method of the system of pranavati-aided meditation that has given many practitioners immense benefit. the awareness of the commonness of the bond of unity in the core of our being due to expansion of consciousness imperience leads to the development of a feeling of universal brotherhood. This breaks our individual network, paving way for the real feelings of Maitri and Karuna. The word Maitri, many think means friendship. It is really a feeling of concord that is felt when we understand that all of us are parts of a whole, whose interests are intertwined invariably and inexplicably. It is an awareness of integral oneness with all that is in expression. Ill will to any being is really an ill will to oneself. Hatred to any is hatred to oneself. This understanding, or more correctly, feeling that is felt deep within the core of the heart, leads naturally to a feeling of compassion to all beings. Ahimsa or non-injury to others follows as a companion to the feeling of Maitri. Having thus resolved conflict with others, peace gets crowned and its place in the throne of our heart is established. Thus, we find that this instruction of the Master to know all as brethren and treat them as such is not a routine command that we find in many other institutions, but is backed by a system of philosophy that is expounded. It is not the conventional instruction found in almost all the organizations and institutions. It is an appeal to feel fraternity that is backed with a method through which we can live up to the expectations of the Master.
Somebody can read this.
Sir, I'll read, sir.
Please read.
Commandment number 6. Know all people as thy brethren and treat them as such. In this world, all religions and groups desire that each of its members should call the rest as brothers. If women, sisters. This has become so common because all of them believe that we are all born of one source, and in another sense, we are all going to the same common source. So we can be brothers because of our origin from God or one God, and we are all brothers because we are going towards one God or goal. The usual meaning, of course, is an extension of our being born of the same mother and father. In a world where truth and non-possession are prevailing, it is clear that brotherhood involves participation in the common good life. But in our world today, since possessiveness and desire are governing our minds and thoughts, brotherliness is forgotten. And to speak of brotherhood is to be in conflict and rivalry. In a discussion among satsangis over Master's way of treating and addressing everyone as a brother or sister, in accordance with Commandment number 6 of Natural Path, the Master himself pointed out, we have to know all as brethren because they are really so in relation to the Father Almighty, whom we constantly remember and get nearer by knowing and treating them as such. Actually, treating everybody as brother creates an atmosphere of peace in one's own heart and all around, which is so essential for the Abhyasi's own spiritual progress and creates conditions for the progress all around. Therefore, when we speak of treating every person as brother, it is in respect of helping him to reach the one supreme or ultimate goal, in all manners of ways. We must see in him a soul striving for peace and inward growth and union with God. When speaking about the seventh Granthi in the Anant Ki Or, Sri Ramchandraji has spoken of its being in the Brahmanda, and all that rishis, including Durvasa, get their powers from it and passed it on for work in the world. Pinda Pradesh. Brotherhood may mean that one out of love wishes to impose transformation in another also, and thus bring lot of misery or weeping to all people, even with good intentions. Force cannot enforce the change, but for a brief while, and therefore this power cannot be used at all for change unless by God Himself, and most probably rishis use it as instruments of God alone. Brotherhood in a subtle sense means to change in a spiritual way or sattvikally the heart itself and make it seek inward peace and spiritual growth. This service must be done without harshness or cruelty, but dispassionately and consistently. An abhyasi must help others to come to abhyas and participate in the peace that this practice grants even on the first day. There is in every one undoubtedly the fraternal feeling, and this comes out most when one has achieved some good or some deep sorrow. The former requires sharing as much as the latter. Most people require to be congratulated or condoled. Indeed, all persons require to be condoned or excused their sins also on the same basis, appealing to the basic principle of humanity. To err is human, to forgive is divine, and sympathy and so on. The great teachers of mankind have always insisted upon this fraternal aspect of all reality, and this is not limited to human beings alone, but also animals and plants, which have gone further down in the process of grossening. It is true some of them are ascending and some are moving downwards, Urdhvamukha and Adhomukha, which are by Sri Krishna equated almost with the Daivik and the Asuric Prakritis. Obviously, those who plead for the fraternity confuse between these two and think that all mankind is one and has one direction. That while both have the forms of men, they have different directions for ascent. But the ascent to the one appears descent to the other. How then can it be said that all persons were to be treated as brethren? The truth is that the ancients considered them to be brothers, but brothers in opposition rather than in conjunction and unity. It is just possible that because of their opposition, they make this world process move either way, and without this conflict, there can be no world at all. The Antarmukha and the Bahirmukha, or Pratyak and Paranmukha beings, are indeed our problem of the original evil. The struggle of God and Satan, and so on. Avatars undertaken for the purpose of restoring Dharma had invariably been through divine force or battle for conversion or transformation of the Asura and Rakshasa through Danda, punishment. Sama, Dana, Danda, Bheda are the four means of converting creatures to the Dharma: by persuasion, by gifts, and by dialectical argument, and lastly by force or punishment men have been educated. Perhaps we may see clearly that these four ways are suitable to four types of men, or all may be required in some cases. Fraternity will be imperiled if one force is used. These methods are all political and social and hardly spiritual. But it may be said that these methods are not all fraternity encouraging. Brotherhood concept thus has entirely to be removed from its social setting and turned to spiritual assistance and without any distinction. In spiritual life, it is necessary to discover the nature of man and accordingly offer assistance as elder brothers on the path. Master calls all his followers or disciples associates, those who are associated with him for the great work of liberation of man or oneself, and therefore offering free service to all those who aspire to know their nature. This fraternity is in service and realized through service of everyone in the same spirit that animates one's own spiritual aspiration. The whole world is one, and it is one of the greatest ideals of the human race to achieve this fraternity of all races. Mostly thanks to the growth of science and the impact of man on man, we are realizing that despite the divergent tendencies of certain types of men everywhere, the human being is seeking to get over the threat to its very existence. A world government is being thought of as a most feasible method of saving humanity itself from self-destruction and annihilation. That means annihilation of all life itself on this planet thanks to science. But fraternity is not capable of being merely realized by the mere concepts of economic equal distribution or even by the removal of all those conditions that breed war and strife and rivalry. Spiritual disruption that has been underway has to be removed, and spiritual unity has to be forged in the hearts of men as well as in their ideologies. It is surely a great thing that though materialism has scored victories, it's not so much matter but ideology that moved it to such expansion of its claim for equality and fraternity of all people everywhere. Though people have been reckoned as human when they conform to the theory of working class or the proletariat, we are passing out of
Proletariat.
a
Proletariat.
proletariat.
It is a communist word. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. We are passing out of that rigid limitation of work to manual labor, but we are already in the equation of work with clerical and supervising. Unless real education becomes, in its true spiritual sense, possible, brotherhood will remain an ideal concept, an ideal that can only be spoken of and cannot be practiced. So, in our samstha, we do not make it a catchphrase. It is a working concept for self education and growth of all abhyasis and leads to sharing in ultimate grace and transformation of ourselves into divine nature. Spiritual force is all that we can have for mutual help and transformation. We must pray to God for the welfare of all creation. Loka samastaha sukhino bhavantu. The compassion of Buddha or Ashoka is not so much for the physical and the economic miseries of mankind as for the spiritual distortion and perversion of man, which they sought to rectify as brothers of man and all creation. The true passion of the Guru and God is precisely this effort which they take for saving the souls from wandering into the wilderness of materialism. Pray for the change of all men towards the divine and seek to assist all change themselves. God alone is our refuge and guide and power to lead us to that society of spiritual brotherhood all the time and forever.
I
Get
have
off this.
I have small question.
Yeah.
Can I go back to previous page, sir? This page where seventh note he was referring to. Previous page mein. When speaking about seventh Granthi in the Anahata, or sir, does that have any relevance to the brotherhood, sir? This seventh Granthi, Brahmanda Mandal and all?
Yeah,
I'm
naturally,
sorry.
because the consciousness has been broadly classified into individual consciousness and universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness is again subdivided into Brahmanda, Parabrahmanda consciousness, and then again beyond that into central region, different thing.
Right,
but individual consciousness, you are there. You will be, you can practice fraternity, but it is out of a education which has been imparted in your society by your gurus and all that as a moral principle which you are convinced is worthwhile to practice.
Sure, sir.
Whereas if your consciousness, the quality of your consciousness undergoes a dramatic change when it moves into what is called universal consciousness. Okay. There it is. You don't make an effort to be fraternal with people. It is your nature, and it is the nature of the being itself is that. So then that becomes natural. Till the time you are practicing, once your quality of consciousness changes into
universal level
consciousness, which should happen if you're moving towards a goal, you're practicing meditation with zeal and enthusiasm. You will be moving it on the path, and on the path at some place the quality of changes, and there your narrow-mindedness breaks down, the network breaks down, and once the network breaks down, the underlying all-pervasive reality is felt, and you also clearly feel that you are part of that underlying all-pervasive divine force. And once that realization dawns, then fraternity is it's your nature. Like if a pin strikes you,
it becomes part of our
becomes
nature.
A normal
part of our nature.
Part of our nature. You no more actually try to think and behave like that. You don't think there. You just you just behave normally. Actually.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
In the Babuji's commentary, he says it will naturally, the development of feeling of universal brotherhood means the breaking up of the individual network that separated one from other, and the closer adherence to the tri of fraternity. It will naturally lead to mutual association, greater attachment, and our dealing with one another will be molded accordingly, ensuring greater peace and contentment to everyone. How nice would it be to have it thus? There's an exclamation mark actually. Okay. So actually when, this is my personal thing, I was doing my post-graduation in Delhi in 77, 78. So I had a lot of opportunities to meet Babuji while he was traveling to various parts of India. Delhi was the hub where he had to change the trains and all that. So we had a lot of opportunities to meet him in Delhi. And I remember once Sister Kasturi goes and tells him about there were about 300 abhyasis in Delhi. She used to tell them all the people in this abhyasis in Delhi center, they are like one family. They have a lot of mutual love and affection. So he used to feel very happy about it. So she used, but that was a fact. When I joined the mission, there are a few friends of mine who joined because seeing this fraternal feeling amongst the meditators. Actually, there are 2-3 of my classmates who are doing surgery with me. They got attracted because of this feeling of fraternal and loving, affectionate feeling amongst the Abhyasi brethren. Actually. That was quite strong those days, probably because of the lesser numbers. But then he used, when this fact was mentioned to him, he used to feel very happy about it. So we should also, as our group, we should exhibit this feeling actually, and then it will be very nice actually.
Great. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So there is a line here in Dr. Varadachari's commentary. He says, brotherhood may mean that one out of love wishes to impose transformation in another also, and thus bring lot of misery or weeping to all people, even with good intentions.
Don't you see the example of Sir in this comment? Sir used to be harsh to change us. This is our experience now. Otherwise, our ego will not. We keep on nursing our ego. We will remain the same brutes actually. So he had to be harsh to puncture the ego, and then so that our journey will move ahead on the path actually. So, Sir is one good example of this statement actually. Other people were not this, and I repeatedly made this comment to Sir several times. I said, if you are not so harsh with me as you have behaved with me, probably I wouldn't have benefited so much in the spiritual life. Several times I pointed out this to Sir, because none of the other trainers, I met so many people who guided me on the path, but they were never so frank and brutal in pointing out one's mistakes, as Sir has pointed out in me. They were all politically correct. That's all. So political correctness it requires courage not to be politically correct and point out the mistakes of a person undergoing spiritual training. And that was the unique quality of revered Sir actually. And which has helped quite a lot.
The same paragraph says that all rishis, including Rishi Durvasa. So
Durvasa was famous for that, no? He was very famous for that. Yes. But if you see, each person is different. Each expression of God is different. Like Buddha was there, and so many people were extremely. Each person, in a unique way, they will be telling about God and then helping people in spiritual life.
Then just one more note here, you're talking about the compassion of Buddha or Ashoka is not so much for physical and economic miseries of mankind as for the spiritual distortion and perversion of man, which they sought to rectify as brothers of man and all creation. This is nowadays we see that a lot of people are just worried about the physical and the economic miseries, whereas when we look at it from the spiritual perspective,
that is the tragic situation of man who is drowned in samsara, so-called, and then he is when the end of the life comes, then he realizes that he's made a terrible mistake. He feels that it's very common, no, for man to feel like that.
Yeah. This is where also it says, right, the true passion of the Guru or God is precisely this effort which they take for saving the souls from wandering into the wilderness of materialism.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Okay, if not, we'll meet again next.
Yeah, next week.